this rebranding that they're doing now with the CIA, I mean, this is astonishing. I don't know if you saw this video where they're basically...
I saw it.
Yeah, where they're heralding, women of color joining the CIA. I mean, this is just, it's so pathetic, and I find it so funny how they wield.
She's a cisgendered millennial diagnosed with an anxiety disorder who is a proud woman of color and Latina immigrant and person of color who believes in intersectionality, and she is proud every day when she goes into work into the CIA where she is a CIA officer.
I mean, what is that? Honestly, like it's so funny how they're taking this woke culture and kind of, weaponizing it against the people it was meant to shield. I mean, if they told us like, okay, we're gonna have the first black man leading the Pentagon, and by that you meant like, oh, they're gonna stop bombing Africa and like black and brown countries, I would be the first to clap and be like, hooray. But that's not what they mean. They're just putting people like that in power, and actually they just hurt the same communities that they come from in the first place. I mean, it's I don't even know what's going on. There's no satire anymore. They leave no room for satire. It's just, this is it. This is
yeah. So I actually have to go right after I answer this. I just saw the time. But let me answer that because I think it's so important. Like, this has been going on for a while. I've been noticing this for a long time. I think the first time I ever wrote about this was, and this is one of the most revolting days of my life. So as bad as the NSA is, the GCHQ is so much worse. It's the British equivalent, because the British have this total inferiority complex because they lost their empire. They know they're this like tiny, irrelevant little stub of an empire that, just like wears wigs and clings to monarchy, and they just have like all kinds of psychological inferiority complexes about that. So one of the ways they try and compensate for that like small dick syndrome is they like to show the Americans that they're willing to go even further than the Americans will. Yeah. So a lot of times when the NSA would run into what even for the NSA was like a bridge too far ethically or legally, they would farm it out to the British at the GCHQ, and they would eagerly do it to like demonstrate, no, we're like tough guys. We're like really part of the game. So they're so much worse than the NSA. And in 2015, they announced that every day from now on, once a year, they were going to bathe their creepy UFO style headquarters in the colors of the rainbow flag to like celebrate Alan Turing, who was like basically bullied to death as a closeted gay World War II codebreaker.
Right.
And I was like, what the fuck? Like, why is the GCHQ bathing itself in the colors of the rainbow flag? And then you look more and it was like the CIA started like, celebrating Women's Day and Black History Month and like Trans Day and LGBT Day. And now corporations are doing it. And for a while, I thought what you just said, which is that they were like weaponizing and co-opting this ideology of liberation to like bathe themselves in it to make themselves prettier. But actually, I no longer think that. I think woke ideology is not actually a real politics that challenges power center. It actually empowers them. If you think about like what woke ideology does, is it like empowers the state and tech monopolies to censor the internet in the name of combating hate speech. Right. It lets HR managers and corporations have greater control over their employees' lives and more easily to fire them if they say something that in some way runs afoul of this ideology. And it obviously makes it so that when people are so focused on all of these social issues, they don't, how often do you hear in left-wing politics, let alone liberal politics, any real discussion any longer of like the NSA or the CIA or Silicon Valley or hedge funds? It's been pushed way to the side in favor of this kind of symbolic gesture, which these power centers love so much because it's not about redistributing the disbursement of power. It's just about changing the facade of what that looks like. And they're more than happy to incorporate as many people as who want to come work at Langley or, Citibank. It's like the more the merrier, come on in. If you want to join us, we're so happy, especially if you're doing it in the name of this, like, inspiring leftist ideology that makes millennials think good of us. So it's really become this ideology, not that's being co-opted, but that's actually helpful only to power centers.
Just one last thing that I'll say is that I love how even at the extremities of it, there are still no Arabs in any of this. It's like we're not even, that is still off limits. Like you can't have that. But and just adding to what you said about the British, I mean, the Julian Assange thing is another facet of that. How they're willing to play ball 100% and keep him cooped up in Belmarsh. And
oh yeah.